two. Welcome to another episode of Million Dollar Stories, where we get to interview authors from all over the world. I love talking to authors because they have the courage to take their thoughts, their stories, their lessons, put it down in a book, and share it with the many, ultimately changing their legacy and destiny in the process. And if you're looking to write a book out there, check out dreamstarterspublishing.com. We can help you out with wherever you're at in the process. And if you have a book that's already done, you want to use it as a lead generator for your business, check out bookmarketingcrm.com. I'm extremely excited about this next guest because number one, I looked at the reviews. I think it's almost 1,400 reviews on Amazon, but he is part of an organization that is iconic, or was a part of an organization that's iconic, and knows a lot about creating magic, pun intended, because the book is called Creating Magic: 10 Common Sense Leadership Strategies from a Life at Disney. It is an honor to have you here today, Lee Cockrell. Thanks so much, man.
Thanks, Mike. Good to be here.
Let's start off with the genesis of this book. I'm assuming there was a moment in time where you're like, I need to write about what I learned here at Disney. But why did you put this book together?
Well, actually, I worked for 42 years for Hilton, Marriott, and Disney. So I eventually woke up one morning and thought I must know something after all of that. And I thought I'd learned a lot because I started as a waiter at the Washington Hilton. I don't have a college degree. I just worked my way up. So I really learned the business inside out. From cooking to waiting on tables to cleaning bathrooms and just gradually moved up. So at the end, I thought I had a lot of insight into some of the things that I thought were important to preparing yourself early on to be able to overcome the obstacles and just stick with it and wake up every morning and try to learn something new. Since I thought I must be at a disadvantage because I didn't have a college attitude, so I decided just to have a good attitude. A good attitude and being reliable was really the key to my success. And I think for everybody listening today, they should think about that. I think the two key things, good attitude and being reliable, you'll learn everything else. And we know that those two things, you get recognized, you get spotted. People say, hey, that person's different out there in my business. They're always, I get nothing but good feedback about them. They're on time, they do their job, they get things done when I ask them to, they don't have an attitude. They must have some potential. So I'm going to promote them. And that's what happened to me. I just kept getting promoted, even though I was always surprised. So I think that's what happens to all of us. And you think about the people you know.
Yep.
You know the ones yep, those are the ones I want to hang out with. Those are the ones I trust. Those are the ones that'll do what I need to done and take care of me and all the same stuff. It's not too hard. It's not too hard.
Well, I always think of the Jordan Peterson quote. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he says that life is a series of games. In order to win lots of games, you need to be invited to play lots of games. So all you really need to do is reverse engineer how to get invited to play lots of games. And you hit on two aspects of that. And when you talk about having a great attitude, it's going to grant you so much of an advantage in opportunities. And it's not really what happens to you, it's how you respond. So if you can be upbeat and positive, people want you in their circle. And then you added the other piece to it, reliability. If I can count on you, I'm going to give you more and more responsibility. Usually responsibility leads to financial riches, right? Or some type of success on the back end, whether it's with your career, whether it's through wealth building, whether it's through maybe prestige. But usually, if you're given a lot of responsibility and you come through and people can count on you, a lot of good comes from it. So those are two phenomenal just pieces to the equation.
And they don't cost anything. You don't have to,
Yeah,
and
right.
you don't have any college debt with those two.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, it's beautiful. So in your chapter two of this book, it says the journey from the farm to a magic kingdom. Okay. So you started off, you said, in the hotel business. What was it, you think? Just take us back to that moment that you felt that you were on the right track. Was it the fact that you could you can outlast or withstand more than the next person, that other people just didn't have what it took? When did you get that first break to the next level?
Well, I grew up on a farm in Oklahoma, which we didn't know it was work. We just that's the way you do it. You do what you're told, and so my brother-in-law always worked, and all through high school, through college, the first 2 years before I dropped out, I had always had a job. I don't ever remember thinking that I couldn't be responsible. My mother was a terrorist before they had them in the world. You did what you were told to do, and it was just the way it was the environment back then in the 50s, 60s, and so when I dropped out of college, I had to go in the Army because it was Vietnam days. And I learned a lot about discipline there that I already had. I was always a disciplined person. And I met a guy, and he said, "You want to go to DC with me?" And I'd never been out of Oklahoma. I was 20 years old, never been anywhere. And so I said, "Sure." So we went, and he was going to be a cook at the Washington Hilton. It was going to open on March 25th, 3 weeks after we got there. They gave me a job as a waiter. I'd never even been in a hotel. And I was shocked, but I really had a nice attitude, and a couple of guys took me by the hand, started showing me how to do things. And I was there when they asked me to be there, left and right. And I really got excited because when you move from a little town to a big place like Washington, D.C., and a big famous hotel, it's mesmerizing because you're seeing things coming at you so fast that you've never even dreamed were out there in the world, and people from everywhere, in every country, and it was like, whoa, what is going on here? And so I like that. I like the excitement of it, and I made a lot of money. Working as a waiter, man. Back in those days, we did conventions at the Washington Hilton, and they split those tips up. I mean, I swear to God, I had so much money I didn't know what to do with it. I mean, and so I was living the good life. I loved it, and I really liked the people I worked with. People in the hospitality business, well, they are pretty hospitable. They're
Hmm.
nice. You date them, you go out with them. They're from all over the world. And it was an exciting time, and I just kept doing it, and I kept getting promoted, which kind of made me happy too, because that recognition is really important in life. Because I'm really insecure in the first place because of how I grew up, and my mother was married 5 times, and I've been adopted twice. I got my name Cockrell when I was 16 by husband number four. I mean, it was a dysfunctional life. So I left with no college degree and a bunch of stuff in my past. And when I started being successful, it really gives you a certain great feeling that you know how to do things, you're learning things, and I was getting complimented. You did a good job, Leah. Thanks. We'd like for you to work on this and that. We want to promote you. So that was the juice, I guess, the fuel that drove me. And I loved it. And it's a hard job in the hospitality business, man. It's like you better love it because the people are hard to deal with. The hours,
You're the front lines, man. That's
7
it.
days a week, and everybody wants it and they want it now. The service. And so I don't know if it ever clicked on me. I just kept doing it. And next thing I knew, I was running Disney World 30 years later. So
It's
that
amazing.
was like, I was
Yeah.
going, what? What happened there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you, I mean, were you approached by Disney? Can you tell us about how you went from, whether it's the hospitality world, Hilton, or to go into Disney? Were you approached? Did you seek out that company to work for? And how far did you go within the company?
Yeah, I never struck out on my own on purpose. I stayed with Hilton 8 years, and I worked at Washington, then Chicago, Hilton, and then the Waldorf Astoria in New York, then another little hotel in upstate New York, then Los Angeles, and I kept getting promoted. And then I got a boss I didn't like, didn't like working with him. I was working 6 days a week. I was never home, so I quit, and I ended up at Marriott for 17 years, became the vice president of food and beverage operations worldwide for them. And because by then I'd become an expert in the food business. I'd done it all. I knew the ins and outs, and I'd had a shot at finance when I was at Hilton. So they put me in finance, started learning accounting and all of that. And those two together got to Marriott, and I just kept. I again went from Chicago to Washington to Boston area to Paris, France. And when I was with Marriott, I got approached by Disney in 1990 to go to France and open Disneyland Paris. And again, they wanted my food and beverage expertise, and I opened all the restaurants there. And then a year later, I got promoted to be in charge of all the hotels in France. And then I did that for 2 years, and then I got promoted to be in charge of all the hotels in Orlando. And then after 2 years, I got promoted to be in charge of all operations at Walt Disney World in Orlando, and I ran that for 10 years. I was the executive vice president there, and
Unbelievable.
it just in a flash, it went by, and I can tell you, I tell everybody today, when you graduate from college or you leave home, get out of your village, go to the big city, because it'll change you forever. You'll never be the same person again with that exposure. And I really think about things that are important to get ahead is exposure and experience. Those two things are a big deal. You can learn a lot of things. You forget those sometimes. You forget what you learned in college, or you forget what you read last week, but experience and exposure gets burned in your brain and you never forget it. And that's why I had so many experiences. My wife and I moved 11 times. And we liked everywhere we lived. I mean, we lived in some great places, and you know, and the last one being Paris before we moved to Orlando, and that made my wife. I knew she would never leave me after I took her to Paris.
Oh, yeah. Wait, that's how you stand out in the dating
Yeah,
pool.
she made me go. I got the But I think it's just that. It's just keep doing a good job. I mean, not a good job, doing a great job and being reliable. And it just kept happening. And I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I wrote 4 books and I don't even know where the commas go. I have to hire somebody to put those in for me because I was not the best student in English or math or anything. But I'm telling you, nobody knows that. All they know is you and how you behave and how they trust you and they can give and your ability to live up to responsibility and take it seriously and get it done. And you know, somebody I saw Barack Obama interviewed recently, and they asked him, "What kind of people do you like to work with?" He said, "I like to work with people and get it done." That's it. Just get it done. I don't know how they do it. I don't know if they do it or somebody else does it, but when I give it to them, they get it done.
Damn right.
There's something there.
Yeah. And I think that's a habit that gets formed over time, right? Your character gets exposed the more situations you put yourself in. And if you become the brand that gets things done, it's amazing the opportunities that come your way. And speaking of brand, I'm looking through your book. And it says, chapter 5, strategy 3, make your people your brand. I'm telling you, I've interviewed hundreds of entrepreneurs. We've done hundreds of books. This is episode, I think, probably right around 300. I've never heard anybody say, make people your brand. So, can you tell us a little bit about this one?
Well, you already know it when you think about the places you love to go. You don't know who's the owner, the vice president, the marketing guy, the finance guy. You know the waiter that took care of you. You know the person at the store that you were left and said, "Wow, what a great experience that was." And the bathrooms were clean, and anything I asked for, that person I was dealing with and all the executives may be somewhere else. And I just think that's what you remember. We remember who took care of us, and then we associate that with the brand. And I think that's why brands like Marriott and Hilton and Apple, they produce. I mean, you walk out of there and you are not saying, "Wow, that was lousy." It was great, and
The
then you go,
win. I automatically think of the win in Vegas.
"Yeah,
Unbelievable.
what's important now?" And that's so. It's just mind-boggling to me that it's so simple that companies can't get this straight. Hire the right people, get rid of the wrong people, train them and treat them right, and things will be fine. And
Man,
and people want to do a good job, but they get treated like crap in most companies, so they quit, they leave, and they're disinterested, and they lose. They have anxiety and depression these days, and don't know where they're going, and nobody's thinking about their training and their development. And I was always learning, and anything I wanted to learn, I was learning, learning, learning. And you know, really, when you think about it, knowledge is the yeast. It's the yeast. It's what makes you rise, knowing what you're doing and doing it well, and also I think that empathy for people, being nice to people. You know, my mother always said, "Be nice to the little old ladies." Well, that's true. You know, help them across the street, and when you think about getting it done, I grew up on a farm. You can't only half milk a cow. You got to finish. You got to get it done, and you got to do it again in the morning.
Never ends. And it's
Cows are
got to
not
be in your
happy if
blood,
you don't.
right? It can't feel like a job, I think. Maybe that's one aspect of it. It's got to be in you. And I was at a hotel last week for an event, and I was sitting there by the pool and I said, "You know what? Can I have eggs? I'm really hungry." No, no, not at all. No, you can't do it. And I thought to myself whenever I was at and when I was talking about the Wynn, Wynn, Steve Wynn's place out in Vegas, I thought to myself, these people would never say no. But anyways, I'm at this event last week and they said, "No, we can't do that." I'm like, "Do you realize in my mind, I didn't say this out loud. I don't care what it costs. I'll pay $100 for eggs right now, right?" So if you have this mentality that, yeah, we can do that, absolutely. I'm telling you, I would leave that place speaking with nothing but praise for the rest of my life, talking about you need to stay here, you need to stay here. It's because it's almost like whatever we could do for you to make this enjoyable for you, I want to make sure you leave here with a smile. And I don't know if Disney still does it, but I've heard great things. They have been notorious for doing that. Whatever it takes, we're gonna make sure you leave here happy and in a great mood because we look at you at not only our team members as the brand, but you are our brand out there, sharing the magic of this company. So, does that come from the top down? Does it have to come from the leader?
I think it does, and I think it depends on who you hire. That they might have been raised that way, where they were highly responsible, and they just are that way. But you got to be clear about your expectations when you hire people. People don't know what the difference between average and excellence is, and excellence is different. And it's everything matters when you're excellent, and you got to teach that, and you got to train that, and you got to make sure that you know what you want them to know, and that they know it, and then you enforce it. Mr. Marriott told me years ago the way you get excellence, he said, is training, which is education, and enforcement. That's right, you know. And when you said win a minute ago, I was talking about WIN,
Yeah,
which
I
is
heard that. I was like, oh, what's important now? I've heard
what's
that before too.
important now. That's what you should focus on every second. When a guest walks in the store, you focus on that. You stop doing whatever you're doing. When your wife wants to talk to you, you quit looking at the TV. I mean, what's important now? Get to the moment because there's somebody you're either going to annoy or make happy and impress. And these simple things that a lot of mothers taught their kids, but you get into business and somehow people forget the basics. And I think that is, I always say, if you're a business, treat your employees the way you want your children treated when they go in the workforce one day. How you want them trained, how you want somebody to pay attention to them, build their self-esteem, self-confidence. Be that kind of leader. That how would you want your mother treated if she was going for a job? Uh,
Mm.
you know, uh, or your sister, or it's the same. They are somebody's mother, sister, brothers, and this concept of just be nice. My granddaughter told me when I wrote the second book, The Customer Rules. I said, "What's the most important rule in customer service, Margot?" She was 12. She looked at me and she said, "Pappy, the most important rule is be nice." Be nice. I mean, give me a break. That's the only one we need to learn, probably. And it's a big problem right now in the world.
Oh
And
yeah.
people are not nice. And my theory is if you're nice to people, they'll give you their credit card.
It's, hey,
If
it's
you're not,
every buy is an emotional buy, and they need to fall in love with you as a person if they're going to let go of their resources, I think.
Mickey loves all currency. All.
Right. You
We
said
probably,
something there. I want to touch on that. You create magic through training, I guess, or enforcement. How do you create magic through training? And I don't know, maybe, I can already sense it in you. Like you're a likable, humble guy, and maybe it's just always been there and you're able to share it very easily. And maybe some people struggle with it, but training, how can you create magic through training? What have you seen in Disney?
well, I think when you approach somebody, then they know everything. They have the knowledge of the business, what they're doing, how to do it. They know how to execute it, how to pour the wine, how to serve the food, how to has every bit of knowledge you need when you ask them a question. They know the answer. Uh, you go, whoa. That doesn't happen very often when I'm around the world. It's for me, it's like FedEx. They're on time. That's all I know. I don't care. I like the driver. I don't know who the CEO is, but I know they're on time. And that's all I worry about and think about. And that's what, people that execute and they do it in an excellent way. And this is it. Do what you say you're doing. Make sure you know your business. If you're in the hospitality business, well, you should know what your business is. If you're in the computer business, the thing has to work. And so training just creates this. Don't you just love to run into people that know what they're doing?
Oh,
You know,
yeah. They can
that's the
articulate
first
their
thing.
solutions very well and they're proud of it. It's not a hassle to explain what they do, and there's an enthusiasm behind it. I'm telling you, I would rather give my money, my time, and energy to somebody who loves what they do and they're obviously, well versed in what they're actually providing, but there has to be an enthusiasm and an expertise married together.
Yeah, and when you find that you go back more often. They sell you more, and you're happy, and you don't go to some other store. I think a lot of people say, well, how do you beat Amazon? One thing you do is you be so much better about the interaction and how you treat them and how you help them. And that's really the only thing you do because Amazon is doing it online. They're professional. They know what they're doing. They get it to you. I don't think we've ever ordered something, which is my wife orders something every day, that it hasn't come. I mean, it comes and they keep you informed. And if you have a problem, you call them and the lady tells you we'll take care of it. And they do. And no, it's just like, why wouldn't I order from them? I
Damn
mean,
right.
and they've built that reliability and into, how many people have or feel that there's reliability when you call your cell phone company or your cable company? There's not. And you just, all we do is bitch about it and hate it. And we don't even want to make the call because we know we're going to go through total aggravation, even if they answer the phone. And it's the way I feel when I interact with you, the way I feel.
When you were at the helm of Disney, was there anything you were doing specifically, whether it's holding certain meetings or sharing a certain message, or, in my opinion, maybe the way I look at some of the great leaders is they walk down to the coffee shop. They walk down to the restaurant. Even CEOs, all these executives maybe are so distant from the working crew. Maybe part of it is touching base with them and being around them consistently and knowing and having them know that you're there for them. So, was there anything you were doing that maybe allowed that magic that you have to spill off into their worlds?
Well, there was, and I think part of it is a lot of people in high level jobs, executive jobs, they sometimes are not comfortable going down into the business, into the talk to the call center people or go down and talk to the waiters and because they don't really know the business. They know the financial side. Maybe they got a degree in marketing and finance, and that's what they drive the business through. But I scheduled time every single week, 4 or 5 hours to walk through the parks, talk to people, go to the hotels, check the bathrooms, try to buy a coffee, see how it went, make phone calls I had a lady that worked for me. I had her drive the property every day to look for trash to make sure we were keeping it clean and sparkling. I had a lot of these things in place. And then I wrote a newsletter. It went out every Friday to all 40,000 cast members, hearing from me personally about what we
Wow.
should be working on. Today, I would do a podcast, but back then we didn't have them. And so every week, and I picked out people to recognize and talked about safety and talked about, and so I was in. I was open and available. Somebody need to see me, I was available. I think being available is another big thing. Be available. That's how you're going to impress people. I had instructions in my office. If a guest calls here, you never tell them I'm not here or not in a meeting. I'll talk to them. And sometimes I took a beating, they were not happy. And, but I needed that because I need to hear it, that it's not as good as we think it is. And, Sometimes you get isolated and you think everything's perfect. When you get out there in the park, is not, and the water's hot in the fountain, and there's no food, and the people bathrooms are filthy. Yeah, then you go, whoa, what's going on here? I thought this was magic. It's not. You got to fight hard for magic every day in the business.
Bingo.
I mean, and that's through the people. You hire them right, you train them right, and you treat them right, and it's amazing what happens. And it's that simple. I mean, it's that simple. Uh,
When you say magic, I wanted to ask this in the very beginning, but what do you mean by that? In my opinion, I'm looking at our company and, we worked with, let's just say, 352 authors from many in the pipeline. It's the moments that, like, when you go to an event and you see that the one of the children of one of your clients and how much it has meant to them, and there's an awe and a wonder not only in the client but their family and their social circle, and there's a feeling that we're really making change and we're really brightening people's days slash lives. That to me is magic. Whenever you explain magic to people, what do you mean?
What I tell people ask me about that all the time. What's magic? And I said, for me, magic's when you're so good nobody can figure out how you do it. They, they go, wow, that was an amazing dinner, amazing experience, amazing car rental experience, amazing airline interaction. You're so good, nobody knows, how does he do that? And we've all seen those people. How do they do that? And it's all mental. It's, if you want to be good, you're going to be good. If you want to be great, you'll be great. If you want to be average, and there are a lot of people like that, they're just average and nothing quite happens. I've got this thing now. I tell people every problem you have in your life is your fault.
That's right. I'm
You
with
know,
you. Total accountability, total responsibility.
and 1%, no, 99%, 1% is Mother Nature, 99% is your fault. If you are not happy, maybe you need a new wife, maybe you need to get out of the job, maybe you need a new boss, maybe, but you know what to do, but you don't do it. People don't want to do the hard things because hey, they're hard. That's so, and we all know, we know. And I tell you, that's why I sleep good. When I got a problem, I am not get rid of it. I don't care what it is. It's not going to keep me awake at night because that's what happens. We wake up, we worry, we changes our attitude. We're not nice to people because we're not in a good mood ourselves. And I'm telling people, just get rid of the obstacles in your life, and it's probably your fault that you got them. Frankly, I don't have a good degree. That's my fault. That's nobody else's fault. You know, it's not. If I don't know something, that's my fault. I have a phone and Google's. If I don't know something, it's my fault. I can look it up, you know?
Chapter 9 says, "Burn the free fuel." I have not read your book yet, but I'm fascinated by this phrase. Burn the free fuel. What does that mean?
Well, I coined this ARE, appreciation, recognition, and encouragement, the fuel that drives human performance. Appreciation, recognition, and encouragement. I've been married 55 years, so I can prove it works. If you tell your wife you love her and you appreciate it and thank you, they don't leave.
That's the key. I
By
got
the
it.
way, divorces, 75% are started by women. Fine.
Yes.
So anyway, appreciation. We all want it. We all need it. And by the way, in these times we're living in right now, that's why these kids are quitting. They don't stay. You don't appreciate them, recognize, encourage them, train them, develop them, give them a hope and a future. They quit. They're not like me that worked like a dog back in the 50s and 60s. They just leave. And so what keeps you somewhere? It's where you matter. If you matter, you stay. If you feel if I make sure you matter, and I'm glad to have you, and I'm going to focus on your training, I'm going to focus on your development, and I'm going to be there for you when you need me, and I'm going to help you, and you're not going to leave. The odds go down, by the way. The odds go down that your turnover may go down from 20% to 5
Hmm.
because you beat the odds when you treat people right. And everybody wants to matter. Everybody wants to matter. And when they don't matter, what happens? They don't pay attention, they don't do a good job, and it even leads to violence. Look around the world, people who don't think they matter. Next thing you know, you got riots, you got war, you got both sides. I'm telling you, when you take even in Palestine and Israel right now, there's a group of people that don't believe they matter.
Right.
And when you don't matter, you can turn to violence. as one of the final. And I think that happens a lot. And I think it happens a lot of the kids that are this gun, they shootings and mental illness. It's you feel isolated and you feel alone. And that's the worst thing that can happen in the world is when you don't feel appreciated or recognized. And because we all want it, we're wired that way. You know, even your dog wants to be petted. You
Damn
know,
right.
like
Absolutely.
and,
So if
and
you're out there listening and
yeah,
somebody's out there growing a business, make sure you appreciate those around you who you really value, recognize their wins, right? Their growth or transformation, and encourage, them to take the helm even more, or maybe to control their destiny to some other, to another level. And so and appreciate, recognize, and encourage over and over and over. Never stop.
and by the way, how bad do you think that's needed right now in the world we're living in?
Oh my God.
Encouragement. You know, you can do it. Let's try again. I'll give you another chance. I mean, people just give up and walk away. And mental illness is a big problem right now.
Yep.
Anxiety is. I really worry about this at every level, from grade school through high school, college, and adulthood. I mean, it's serious. I
Yeah,
went through it
especially
myself.
male depression right now, suicides
Oh,
all time high, right? And I don't think a lot of men are being appreciated, recognized, and encouraged from what I'm seeing. And I think they're suffering mentally because of it.
they are, and it's real, and they're worried about finances, their health, their families, their kids, drugs, terrorism, opportunity. And a lot of them are getting close to retirement and just finally figured out they can't afford to retire. They just figured that out. And I'm telling you, that's got to drive people. And then that creates a divorce and that goes from bad to worse. And I mean, it's your life. I love that quote. It says, "You're not a product of your circumstances. You're a product of every decision you made, and it took you right where you are.
That's right. Yeah.
Took you right where you are." So
Yep.
I moved to Washington. I mean, okay, I got married. I moved to Chicago. I moved to New York. I moved. Those are all decisions I made, and got me in my life to. I just think about it. If I said, "No, I don't want to leave my little town. I want to stay here and work it," God knows what I'd be like. What? You got to take the risk, got to take the trip and get out of there. My grandkids, I got three, 28, 20, oh, 25 and 22. One's a biomedical engineer in Boston. They've lived all over. Their mother is French. They went to France every summer for their cousins. One lives in Manhattan and is in marketing there and loving her life. And you got to live in Manhattan, I told her, when you're young, and you can live in Florida when you're old. And I got one going to school in France. These kids are like nothing. Nothing scares them. Nothing.
It's great.
The day they could leave, they left. They were like, they ain't staying at home. There's no chance of them coming back here to live.
But that's where
So
the character is formed. And I was looking at one of your chapters about developing character. It made me think of an interview I just saw regarding the CEO of NVIDIA. And he
yeah,
says, listen, I am not here to teach you how to become intelligent. I am not even valuing intelligence as much as I value character. And the truth of the matter is character is formed out of pain and mistakes. So if there's anything I would love for you to go through, guys, is pain and making many mistakes, because that's what will turn you into this formidable object. That's your character, and that character is what's going to serve you at the highest levels. And I'm thinking to myself, that is what needs to be shared more than anything else. Pain and mistakes turn you into this individual that can win at any level. So do you agree with that? That's how you stand out.
well, character is everything because if I don't trust somebody, I can't work with them.
Yep.
I just can't. And especially when you're in a higher level positions, you got people around you. We went through 9/11 together, me and my team, and we had no problems. We went through hurricanes. We went through because I trusted them. I stepped back, let them take over where they had the strength. I didn't have to be the boss. I was telling everybody should not have meetings anymore. They should just have round tables where the boss sits there and a half a dozen people, and they stay at that table till they get it solved. Don't be sitting up at the top of the table up there in the rectangular looking down the people on their phones underneath the table. Well, don't be a boss, be a teacher. This is your
Mm.
job. Teach, teach, teach. And if somebody doesn't know something, teach them. If they don't know something, send them to a course. If they don't know something, have a hard talk with them. But intimidating people is not going to improve their ability to get the job done for you because they will be afraid. And most people don't speak up. Most people don't speak up. And God, can you imagine being a job where you can't say what you think? I mean,
You would eventually quietly quit, right? Simply because if your ideas are not rewarded, why the hell would you ever say things in the first place? So eventually they become quiet, they become distant, and they're gone.
exactly. People just take the easy route, make sure they get to retirement alive, and they're miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So,
you touched on something there. I want to make sure people get that is that, character is formed not when things go right. It's who you are when things go poorly or wrong or when things are getting scary. That's whenever your true self is shown to the world.
well, I'll give you an example of that. Back in '08, my wife got sick, was in the hospital 64 days with a failed bowel resection surgery. I had to take care of her for 2 years. The bill ended up being $700,000. I had insurance, but we got that covered. And I ended up with anxiety and depression over 2 years. Got treated. It was the most miserable place I've ever been in my life. I didn't think it was possible for Lee Cockrell to get anxiety or depression because nothing bothers me, but it did when it became personal. And we're going through that a little bit right now again. When she's fine, but she's got a lot of back problems, and I mean serious back problems. And I'm taking care of her. And I said to her one day, I could see the angst. I said, Priscilla, let me tell you something, because I'm kind of I got an attitude problem. When she said, "Can you do this?" I go, "Oh shit, again, come on, leave me alone." And I looked at her and I said, Priscilla, I know you're feeling bad. I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to take care of you and I'm going to not have an attitude anymore, no matter what you ask me to do. And she looked at me and said, thank you so much for saying that because she's suffering. And, frankly, now nothing bothers me. It's like, I don't know what it is. She can ask me 10 times to go get her some water or get this, and it doesn't bother me. And I think she said, "How did you do that?" I said, "I had an attitude change. I had to talk to myself and say, hey, lady, this is, come on. You know,
You owned a new identity that
I was
this is who you
shocked. I
are,
was
right?
frankly shocked. Now I get up, I get coffee for her, I get water and stuff she takes, and I make her breakfast. When we do the laundry, I do the laundry. I can fold that stuff, put it away. I told her I'm 10 times faster than she is anyway. So, and and we're happier, frankly. We're happier because she appreciates me doing that, and I know that she appreciates it. And a lot of people get a divorce when you go through those kind of things. And yeah, it was. And I was not an easy person to live with. We had our moments in our marriage where, like, because I'm a control freak, I want everything my way. On time. Let's go. What do let's say we're going to leave at 7. It's 1 minute after 7. Let's get in the car. Kind of a pain. And I've really let that come back down because all that anxiety was out of insecurity. That's all it is. People who are insecure, commanding, and in charge, and want to tell you what to do, and they know everything. That's somebody that's got it. They've got some problems in their past. I guarantee you, it's an insecurity that's lurking in there, and we see it every day in business. You know, to crazy people that you go like, what? The way they talk to each other. I just I think about this. Everybody has a problem you don't know about. So when this happens, I look at them and say, I wonder what's going on. I wonder what their problem is that I don't know about. Because no human would say that kind of thing to another person. But everybody has problems you don't know about and probably have half a dozen. And so just let it go. Just let it go. There's no upside to anger.
No.
None. Actually, you end up feeling worse than everybody else after you get mad. And it screws up your whole day. And you
People can sense it too, right? There's an energy that's given off, whether it's realized or not. I think people can sense energy. And sometimes you can use anger as fuel, but when people see it, They might not be able to respond the right way. So manage your emotions is what you're saying. I like that.
We don't
Um,
do that in Florida because everybody has a gun, so we're just nice.
yeah, that's right. Got to watch yourself there.
Exactly. I'm nice to everybody. And you
Uh,
have open carry here, so I'm really nice.
so when it comes to this magic, in my opinion, I've done some research on Walt Disney, and he was incredible. Now, is does it always fall back on the founder to really create that spark for others to take them and make them torches and make them bonfires eventually? So when you think about companies and just missions in general, does it always begin with the founder? And is there anything that you've learned throughout Disney that that might be extremely relevant when it comes to keeping the torch burning bright?
Well, I think you've just got to want to do it so bad you can't stand it. Because when I think about people who do it, you think about Conrad Hilton. He rented rooms for 8 hours, 3 times a day in the oil fields of West Texas. 8 hours. That's it. And then the next thing you know, he owns 8,000 hotels. Bill Marriott's family had sheep. They sent Bill Marriott to San Francisco when he was 14 with 2,000 sheep to sell and bring the money back. A 14-year-old. They opened a root beer stand in Washington, D.C. Walt Disney, he went broke twice. I mean, I think they're wired different than you got to be. No, you got to have the ability to hang in there. And let me tell you, I'm not sure I have that. I'm not sure everybody has that. I have it to an extent, but uh, I can overcome obstacles and go through them and push through them. But these people, they are at a different level. You got
Do
to
you see that in
really.
Bob Iger? Did you work with Bob Iger, or did
I did. I worked with Michael Eisner and Bob Iger, and you got if Bob Iger's got probably $200 million or $1 billion, I don't know what he's got, and he comes back because he's so fat, he wants to fix things. He can. I said, stay home, spend your money, man. What are you crazy? You're 74 years old. No, they can't. They can't. They
yeah?
cannot stay
Because it's in their
away.
DNA to fix things, to build things, and maybe, I don't know, you could look at it as a spiritual calling, right? If you have tools and resources, it's
Yeah.
maybe your moral obligation to put them to work to some capacity.
And I think what you just said, you don't have to start Marriott or Hilton or Disney, but every day you can do something to make somebody's life better. Every day, be nicer, help people, recognize people, buy them a coffee. Uh, every day, you ought to figure out something to do where people go, oh, who was that? What a nice young man. I mean, it's really, and it's inspiring. It makes you feel, wow. I mean, doing it on purpose helps you more than it helps them.
Man, if there's anything I sense from you is that no matter how far you go, you've never lost that personality. I live by this quote, your personality creates your personal reality. And so you still have that farm work ethic, right? The work ethic, but you also
Exactly.
have the humor and you have the trust factor, you have the ability to stay humble even when you've been in the probably the craziest rooms, right? You're talking about the most important players in the world of Disney, and you've been there making these decisions. And it sounds like, you could sit down there with coffee with the busboys in any restaurant and have a natural conversation just like this. So that part of the
Well,
recipe?
first, that's true, and they know it. The staff at Disney knew Lee knows what's going on around here because Lee participated in a lot of bad things probably when he was working in those jobs. Lee knows who's stealing. Lee knows who's eating. Lee knows who's taking things. Yeah, I'm not going to say I did, but it's possible.
And when'd you retire then?
I retired in '06 when I was 62.
Day
I've been
62.
retired for 18 years and I still got this business going and I can't stop either. That's the problem. I just turned 80,
Oh
you know.
my God. Well, maybe that's another aspect of it is that when you have this mission, it keeps you young, getting on podcasts,
Yeah,
sharing your recipe, what you've learned, what you went through, what not to do.
teaching. That is what's going to be more inspiring for you than anything in your life. Teaching others. This that I mean, when I think about it, the two people I love in the world the most are nurses and teachers. They're amazing. And when you decide to become a teacher, you're going to change people's lives and their grandkids and their great grandkids. You're going to change their lives. Uh, if you know something, teach it. Help people. Give them, and really, a lot of the time you're teaching them to have better security and believe in themselves, and by that complimenting them. And they've never worked in a place where people told them they're doing a good job and helped them and promoted boy, that's like, you don't know where your people came from. They've had jobs where they got treated like trash, and you can open the door for them and they'll go, whoa, where has this been all my life? And it's you, the person they work for. That's the only thing that matters in life. Nobody leaves Disney, they leave their boss. Nobody leaves Marriott, they leave their boss. Uh, I would
Hmm.
say 15% of everybody who quits at Disney, they leave because their boss is a jerk. And the boss doesn't want to be a jerk, but they're so disorganized that they can't get the work done, and they're suffering from anxiety and pressure. And you, you got to. I'll tell you the one key to success: get a good night's sleep. I'm
Oh, great takeaway there. I believe in it wholeheartedly. Without sleep,
number
you're
one.
dead in the water.
That's number one. That serves everything you do. 7, 8 hours sleep, man. You get up, you got a good attitude, energy, you don't feel bad, you do hard things. That one thing will change your life.
Lee, I could talk to you for hours. I love everything you're sharing. If you can come back on sometime in the future, I'd really
Sure. Yeah,
appreciate that.
I might
Guys,
know more.
check out, yeah, you got to put out more books because I'm sure you have a wealth of knowledge that needs to be shared more than how many books you have out there, by the way, right now?
Well, I've got 6 total, but my daughter-in-law, who is French, just wrote one that I was going to write, and it's called Manage Like a Mother. When you think about, you want to know how to manage people and lead people, think about your mom. She doesn't care if you're happy. She cares you're successful, so she'll kick your butt.
Yep. Oh,
and
yeah.
and she'll give you a kiss. So I think
Yeah, because she cares
mothers are the
about
best
where you
leaders in
go.
the world. Manage like a mother.
Oh,
So
I got to check that out.
yeah, it's pretty cool. 'Cause I was going to write it, and then I thought I can't write it.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
I
might
was
give it a
really
ghost
I was
write
going
it.
to do it, and I thought I can't even imagine how mothers think. They're
Nope.
so attached to their children and their lives.
Yep. That's how it is. It's natural.
Anyway, good to see you, man.
Hey, Lee Cockrell, guys, look up his book. The one we talked about more than anything else was Creating Magic. It's an audiobook. I love audiobooks when I go for runs, so I'm going to download that today. 10 common sense leadership strategies from a life at Disney. Lee, is there a website or a social media channel that you recommend people reach out to you on?
There's a couple things. I have leecockerel.com, where's everything I do is on there. I have an academy. It's a subscription. I have a newsletter. It's a subscription. And yeah, and I think for a lot of people, Instagram, we post 1 minute videos on leadership, management, and customer service every day. And just a little thing about recommending what you might do today to make your life better. Just, like go tell your wife you love her, call your mother.
I get a John Maxwell sense from you, just so you know. Great
I know
leadership
John.
advice.
Yeah, I did some work with him. He's
Oh,
great.
yeah.
He's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Man,
Yeah.
you're fascinating. I love your philosophy on everything and the fact that you are at the highest level when it comes to one of the biggest brands that we all know and love. So, um, man, pretty amazing stuff. Thank you so much for being here, Lee. I really appreciate you being here and sharing your wisdom with us.
Okay. Take care.
Remember, guys, $1 million book will lead to $1 million life. Right on.